Well, I'm telling you guys, like the past probably a month or probably even a month and a half, I've been looking into these, RGN trailers or lowboys, as you see here. And of course, Excel is great, but they're so overpriced in Canada. And so I was looking at this Pitts. I think it's Pitts Trailer, pittstrailer.com. Uh, no, of course, it's not. Maybe it's Pitts Trailers. Yeah, these ones. Well, the difference between Pitts and Excel is that Pitts is much taller, so I think they use some kind of inferior steel basically, and like they're low boys. Here, this 52 ton. It's only good for 52 ton and 16 feet, right? And it's 24 means that it's look the height is 24 inches, and then the length of this thing is only 24, and then you have to pay them extra if you want 26, but then the whole length of the trailer becomes like over 53, so you need to run it with a permit all the time, and I just don't like that. So but the other big thing with with these kind of trailers is, let's say this is your truck, right? So you have one axle like steers, you have drives, and then let's say you add this kind of trailer, right? And let's say you have three axles, right? And this is the kingpin, and of course this goes on top of your fifth wheel. Oops, sorry. Usually it's here. Usually it's in between, right between the axles. So normally what happens is that I'm just having some fun here. Normally what happens is that you get 12K with a permit. Well, depending on how strong your front axle is, right? Then here they'll give you 40,000, right? And then most of the time you'll get 60,000 for this. So now if you add 12 and 40 and 60, that's of course is 112, right? Basically like this. 120K pounds. Now, this tells you the gross weight. And the problem with the lowboy trailers is that they are extremely heavy. Now, for example, my truck only weighs 20,000 pounds, but I have just a basic 3-axle truck. But these trailers, they weigh the same 20,000, especially if you go with a heavy capacity model like 55 tons, and that's what everybody's buying. So now you're looking at only 72,000 pounds you can put in here, and even that, you might run into some problems. But for sure, if you want to haul, let's say 80,000, you will need 8 axles because of the bridge formula in US. So they will want you to get a truck with, let's say, like tri-drives, or maybe a lift axle somewhere here in the front, and you want to get like a flip axle, that you can put down here, or you want to get some kind of a, those stingers. They look like this, kind of like a, another. There's like 4 tires here. Basically, and then you hook it up like either here or what it's called booster. Anyway, so it's like, you're paying, and that Pitts was, a pretty relatively cheap trailer, like 52,000 for this 24 feet long, model. But again, you only get an entry-level trailer. You spend so much money, so, well, it's not your money, of course, but it's always financed, right? But then, because you're so heavy, you're limited at what you can do. I don't know why it became so crooked, but so now let's look at the drop deck trailer. Now you get the same, 12, 40, and I'm talking about permits, right? So it's not your legal weight, it's your permitted weight, which means that you have to register for a maximum weight, like when you get your plate for the truck, right? But now you have this see the same 112K, right? Like most of the time. But now this trailer only weighs, let's say, if it's aluminum, it's probably 12,000 pounds, or if it's steel, it's 14,000 pounds. Now, imagine. Remember that I said that the lowboy was 20,000. So now you have the same 112,000 minus my truck 20, and minus even, let's say, steel trailer 14. Now you can do 78. So basically all you need is a trailer that can handle that much weight, because few trailers are actually that strong. And these drop deck trailers, they're actually much cheaper. Like a trailer like this with 3 axles, 53 feet long, would probably cost about, I don't know, 45,000, based on the make. And here's my kind of like a copy of an email I sent to a couple of dealers. Basically, doesn't have to be transcribed, but any other drop deck. But I was looking for a cheapest price, so it has to be 53. Otherwise, it doesn't work, because this is the key area. And if you get a 48-foot trailer, your lower deck will never be 42. And the thing with that is that you must be able to put a container, like a 40-foot long container, like a sea container on it. And if your deck is shorter than 40, you won't be able to compete with flatbed trailers. And like 90% of the freight is flatbed anyway, so you must be over 40 feet, believe me, guys. All right, so 53, it's a given, no question about that. Now upper deck, surprisingly, the longer the better. Why? Because when you have a longer deck, then your swing radius is better. Like, the distance between the kingpin and the front, kind of like the wall of the trailer on the drop deck. And then also you can move your freight. Sometimes when they put it on the upper deck, you can move it to the rear of the upper deck. So, it takes weight from the front of your trailer, because when this upper deck is too short, it'll be unusable. Also, when it's, let's say, 12, you can put a pickup truck or a car in there. Sometimes maybe when you get a chance, like buying something cheap and then reselling in your state or province. But anyway, 11 seems like a nice number, because with 11 you get 42 here. If you choose a 12-foot long upper deck, then here you only get 41. So 42 is better, of course. So 3 axles. Most of the time you don't need this in the States, but I want to run more heavy haul loads, and of course with 3 axles, you can make extra money. Now axle spacings, that's the distance between the axles on the trailer. So this is pretty big, so it's gonna be a 12-foot tridem. Again, like Western Canada, they don't go beyond 60-inch spacings, but again with this you can get higher weight permits. When you permit your weight, when you like really want to run something heavy. Kingpin is important. That's the position. Where's that program? Yeah, kingpin, that's the distance from this kingpin here, basically this to the front of the trailer. How far the kingpin, and that's where it's connected, is from the front of the trailer. So the standard is 30 inches, but if you get that thing, it won't be too usable, because that's what happens. Like if it's 30, it looks like this, right? So as soon as they put something heavy in here on the upper deck, a lot of this weight will go on your truck, and your front axle, especially if you have a short wheelbase, will be overloaded. That's what I have now. I have 30 on my flatbed, and it's a pain in the butt. So much better is 24. Usually they go in increments of 6, 24 or 18. So the shorter it is, the farther the trailer will be away from the truck, and more usable it'll be. And this is your swing radius. It's from kingpin to let's say here you have a like mud flap, and that's what they recommended me. And I just basically checked the distance from the center of my kingpin to the rear mud flap, like at a corner, like going like this, so that it can move when the truck turns. and in my case the minimum is, I think it was 81 inches. So I need that space here, minimum 81. But of course, the farther away the truck, the more weight you can put in here. And also another thing like worth mentioning is that it's really important to have the rear axle as close as possible to the rear on step decks. Why? Of course, it's the tire will wear more if you know if it's so far behind here. But step decks are very often loaded from the dock, right? So you'll have a dock here, and they will move some heavy dozer or something, you know, and they'll just drive it on. So if your axle is somewhere here, like on my current trailer, I have on the flatbed, I have about 6.5 feet, like here from the center of the rear axle to the, you know, to the rear of the trailer. I have 6.5 now, and that's a lot of empty space. And last time I loaded a 45,000 dozer from the dock, it cracked my rub rail here, you know. So that's why that's 72 inch spacing, because of course with this your rear axle is, you know, closer this way. Now wheelbase, very important. Most trailer dealers will say, hey, you know, you must get 41. So wheelbase is the distance from the kingpin to the axle 2, or if it's a tandem, to middle of between the axles, to the center of the axle group, right? So now the trick here, like they would spec 41, because that will give you the maximum you can put a lot of weight in here. But this trailer, that's what I have now on my flatbed, and that's what I had on my previous step. The trailer will be really hard to pull, you know, it's just a pain in the butt, especially to back. So 41, it's like really not driver friendly. Like 40, so this trailer wheelbase, I mean trailer axle group will move 1 foot here. So it's much more driver friendly. It's easier to go around corners, and you know, and it's, you can hold more concentrated weight, because the shorter your wheelbase is, you know, you can put more weight in a short space, because that's the rule. Usually the shorter the trailer, the stronger it is. So you're kind of making your bridge shorter, like the spacing between this axle and this axle, right, will diminish by 1 foot when you go for a 40-foot wheelbase. And I talked to one guy. He has he's a Landstar BCO from British Columbia, and that's what he recommended. He said, yeah, go with the shortest kingpin distance, and don't listen to any dealers. Go for a 40-foot wheelbase, and that's it. So now wheels, you know, I still have steel ones on my truck. The one I bought in 2007, I couldn't even, you know, I never could find money because it's a lot of money. And not only the wheels, but you have to change those bolts that the wheels sit on. Once you get a trailer or a truck with steel wheels, you kind of screwed, because they use short, what do they call them, studs. So you have to replace those, and they're really expensive. That's, you know, it's a lot of money to replace steel wheels, you know, for aluminum ones. And of course these are much lighter, and I said non-polished because you don't want to pay extra. And then standard tires, toolbox is there. It's just a waste of money in my opinion. I see guys run them with bungee cords around them. They fall apart because they use cheap locks and cheap metal. So I hate these. I said no toolboxes. All I want is basically install a Danish tray. And what it is basically, somewhere here they just put a couple of, you know, metal things, like kind of like a wall, so that you can put, you know, those timbers, right? Like just 4x4x8. You know the timbers I'm talking about, right? Kind of like that pieces of wood that you use for the load, to put your load on, so you can put them across the bed. And then you just have a couple of like 2 braces there, and you can get it done. Like my dealer found a shop that can do it for like 350 bucks, you know. It's just one bracket here, and I think there's like one wall, and then they put a lock or something in there. So basically these timbers just hang in the air, but they don't occupy any space on your deck, and this is great. And that's the only thing I need. That's why I wrote here, yeah, no toolboxes, because that adds, like one toolbox can be like 1,000, 2,000 bucks. Then lights, is important. Just three lights looks kind of, they